When you think about witchcraft practices, you may be thinking about spells or candle work, meditation, clearing your space, but that's not what we're talking about today. Hey witches, it's Jayme
and Kat
from the new Witch Academy of Modern Magic to bring you some practices today that we believe every witch should be doing within their practice.
Every witch.
We're talking about these practices because when you're trying to reach your highest spiritual self and you're really trying to become like your perfect version of who you believe you are deep down, you know, you're living this template life that everybody else expects of you, but what do you expect of you? That's what we're diving into today.
A good thing to remember is that we are souls having a human experience.
Have you ever felt so worried or stressed out or like thinking about your future problems that it's really hard to be present in the moment that you're living? You know, you're driving in your car or you're at work or you're talking to family members, and really what's going through your head is all of these other problems that you're trying to solve, and it's making you not be present in the moment right now. This is when we get so far into our thoughts that we forget to be here in our body, on earth, in this place, living the experience in the moment. You've probably heard of mindfulness. That's what this is talking about. And the tool that helps us go from, I guess, being unmindful to then being more mindful is gratitude, or what witches like to call
grounding.
So what is grounding? Have you ever practiced grounding?
I have practiced grounding.
So I get a lot of new witches that I teach that are familiar with hearing the concept of grounding, but people don't really explain what grounding is as a practice. And if you think about what we just said, you're stressed and all your thoughts are like way out here. You're sort of in the atmosphere around your body. You're not in your body. Grounding is a way to bring your spirit, soul, your energy back to your body so that you can be present in the moment.
You know, Jayme, for me, the way that I experience grounding is noticing things around me. Today, when I was driving home, I saw a rainbow, a beautiful rainbow, and I got fixated on this. I felt like it was a message, but, you know, that's something if I was just driving sort of in a zone where my mind is running through solving all these problems. I'm not going to see that. And so for me, being grounded was noticing that rainbow and appreciating that rainbow and the beauty of it, and almost like connecting with it. Like I felt like it was a message from spirit.
Definitely.
For me at that particular moment. And it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm driving home. I see this gorgeous rainbow, and it's like,
and you're right there in that moment at that time, right?
Exactly.
Like your mind is nowhere else. You're not trying to solve problems for the future, regretting things you didn't do in the past or whatever. You're just there in that moment. Well, I have some nerdy stuff to bring you guys today about getting in nature in order to ground yourself. You've probably heard of earthing, which is basically to go out, put yourself in nature, even barefooted, lay in grass, put your feet in dirt, lay on the beach, whatever it is, but to be in nature and physically feel it on your skin. So my first clue to what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever been able to be angry when you're like out on a nature walk in the forest, just in all the trees, maybe in the mountains, or whether you're at the beach, in whatever natural setting you choose to go to? Are you able to maintain like your anger or your upsetness or anything?
I'm not. Actually, I know this because I've taken a walk with my dog down to the park in a pissed off mood because work was super stressful and I needed to get away from my desk, and I was like, come on, Tank, we're going to the park. And as I take this walk, and then I get there and I'm just experiencing the park, the beauty of the park, the serenity of the park. All of that mood that I was experiencing on my walk there at work before I left dissipates as you get in that environment. So no, I've never been able to maintain that high level of
anger or like
emotion. Just like elevated emotion of a negative kind. So no.
So what's interesting when you say an elevated emotion, it's elevated because we feel elevated, like on edge, but actually when we experience anger, despair, sadness, frustration, those are low-level emotions. That's actually, we're dropping our vibration. And when you experience joy, gratitude, peace, love, you are vibrating, you have a higher vibration. So that's actually, if in terms of like elevated versus not, joy and gratitude would be elevated emotions, but we don't think about it like that, because when we're in joy and gratitude, like we're so calm and peaceful, you feel physically lower to the earth, or you really feel in the moment down here. When you're upset, I'm like all over the place. I'm ready to explode. So I guess I think about myself as like being way out there, a big cloud of
it's
like
funny how that works,
TNT.
because that's so true.
Yeah.
I don't think of being calm as being a higher vibration, when in fact it is.
It is.
For
We
me, the
vibrate
higher
higher.
vibration is I'm like, I want
That
to
stress, you're like-
Yeah, exactly.
So I have something to tell you guys that is super nerdy, okay? There is actually a word for this that plants give us. Trees will produce a chemical called a phytoncide. Phytoncide. I'm gonna put that on the screen to spell it out. It's a new word that I've learned. I've always known that being in nature is helpful, but they're figuring out, like, trees release this thing of phytoncide, which sounds so funny. But what it does is it actually sends signals to insects and harmful bacteria that would want to hurt the trees, and it dissipates them. Well, when humans are in these environments where the trees are releasing this phytoncide, guess what? It doesn't hurt us. It actually boosts our immune system and relieves stress levels, brings our heart rate or blood pressure down. Like, that's what we get from breathing in the trees' phytoncides. Not that you'll probably ever need to know that word, but it is science. So it's not just that spiritually we feel better. There's science to this, that trees and plants do make us feel better, and to immerse yourself in nature to feel better. So I came up with sort of a list, because, you know, we have witches all over the country, in other countries even. We have a few in Europe, and sometimes nature is not as accessible as it might be for us. We live in Florida, we can go to the beach, and we have lots of state parks. If you live in a heavy city, it might be a lot harder to get to a green space. So I would say look for botanical parks, butterfly gardens. I mean, I would say go to a zoo, as long as it doesn't make you sad that the animals are locked up. But if you find a place where there are true botanists trying to take care of the earth, there are people really committed to taking care of the plants, go there and experience
I could
phytoncide.
see, you know, Jayme, I could see a garden center. Even
Garden centers?
working, having that same effect if you're like really confined in a city and there isn't much. A flower shop.
Flower shops?
Imagine going into. How happy do you feel when you go into a flower shop and see all those beautiful? Yes, they're cut, but oh my gosh.
Well, and I was thinking about garden clubs, you know? So
Yeah.
say you don't know a lot about plants, that's okay. What if you wanted to get interested in plants? Find garden clubs that are within your area, and people will teach you. I don't think I've ever met an angry plant person or an unnice plant person. They're usually like, hey, I have cuttings, you want free plants? Like, I have lots of them.
They're very chill.
Very chill.
They're
very
always
acceptable.
very chill. Yeah, yeah.
All right, I have one more nerdy fact. Did you guys know that bees have a certain vibration that when they fly by tomato plants, it actually makes them release their pollen for the bees? So in short, the first practice that we believe every witch should be doing is getting out into nature. And our second topic about what we think witches should be doing or including in their practice, I want to say what Kat said, is that we are souls having a human experience, so we're physical. So our soul lives in our body. Our bodies live in our house. If you have a house that is not cohesive with what you believe you should be living, your soul and your spirit is going to feel that. So here we're talking about actual clutter and living in a place that is not conducive to your highest being, to your joy, to bringing out joy within yourself.
I can relate to living in a house with clutter and boxes and things that don't match and things that I don't like, and how that makes me feel. When I have just stuff lying around that needs fixing, broken things, dirty things, dusty things,
to-do
old
list.
things.
Yeah.
Piles of clothes that I need to take to the Goodwill. That is energy that weighs me down. All of that stuff weighs me down.
It brings to mind the last point where it's like then that stuff consumes you. It's a constant rattling in your brain of the things you got to do. You know, you need to clean this up, you need to fix this, you need to donate this, you need to get rid of that. And when your house is not in order, it really is an energy drag on your soul, on the well-being of your soul and living your true purpose, because you're consumed by all of your to-dos within your environment or the things that don't make you happy. And that doesn't motivate you to get out there and do the spiritual things that you want to do.
I find that I get very critical of myself. Why aren't you doing this? How come you didn't pick that up? You said you were going to take these clothes to Goodwill like 3 weeks ago. Why are they still sitting in a pile on the floor?
So then it becomes something where it burdens your mind and you start to feel like guilt or remorse.
Yeah, you're judging yourself and criticizing yourself, and it's just very negative. It's negative self-talk can lead to negative self-talk.
And feeling defeated. I think that when we don't complete the things that we know that we should or we want to, we end up feeling defeated by those things, which makes it harder to do the action. That's very unmotivating, to feel defeated by a space that you aren't changing, can't change. We have a very good friend who has lived in a house that she's uncomfortable in, and she doesn't want to be there. There's been trauma within that house, and if she could, she would move right away. And there are unfortunately legal things keeping her there, right? Like a lease on a rental. But with being stuck there, that has delayed her spiritual growth, and she knows it. She's talked about it with us before. So as you get into a place where you know that it's deteriorating your mental health, the stress, the anxiety, if it's a place that holds PTSD for you, then it takes a toll on your spiritual self. So as witches, always trying to grow and become our highest selves, one of our things that we believe that witches should be actively doing is creating a home environment that is conducive and conductive. I'm going to use that word, conductive, because we're energy.
Yes.
To having you at a higher spiritual vibration. So your to-do for this is to do a home energy reading, and it's not the kind that you would get through your local power supply company, because I think that's what they call them too, but it's for your energetic feeling, what you feel when you walk into each room, each space. Just go through and take stock of that. When you walk into your kitchen and you stand there, what immediately comes to your mind? Is it a list of to-dos? Do you see all of the broken things? Do you see your mismatched dishes? Do you see something that your grandmother gave you that you never really wanted and you wish you hadn't accepted? All of those things that make you feel negative, find a way to thank them and release them. You know who I like for this is the Marie Kondo.
Does it make you happy?
Yeah, it's
yes.
Your items should bring joy. Does this bring you joy? That's what it is. It's
yeah.
I can't remember.
It's like if those size 8 clothes that you wore 15 years ago are just sitting there reminding you that you can no longer wear those size 8 clothes, it's time to thank them and let them go to somebody who will get use out of them.
Yeah.
And just accept that,
You don't have to accept that you'll never be a size 8, but you do have to accept that right now they make you sad to look at them.
Yes.
And to just get rid of them.
I can't tell you how many sizes of clothes I used to have in my closet.
For all the fluctuating years of, I totally
From
get
10
that.
to 20, I think size 10 to 20. So it was like every 20 pounds there was another clothes size. That was really depressing. And I just finally had to let it go. And now I have clothes that only fit me. And I'm getting ready to give up a bunch of Nike workout clothes that I bought 20 years ago. I'm giving them up because they don't have pockets. They did not make pockets in workout clothes 20 years ago because cell phones were not such a thing. So this whole pile of clothes that I spent a lot of money on, which was a thing, and it can be a thing for you to but I spent money on it and it's hard to get rid of. Well, you'll feel better once you let it go. I promise.
I had the same situation where 10 years ago now, roughly, I was in an accident. I got thrown from a truck, and back then I was a size 8 and I was thrown to concrete. So I injured my knee, my arm, my head. I didn't have a concussion, or I wouldn't let myself have a concussion. I refused to go to the hospital, but all of my joints were jammed up, and I was in physical therapy for a year. And from not being able to move and run anymore like I used to, I just put on weight because I continued to eat and drink like I was running 5 miles all the time. And I've never gotten back to that weight. It's been 10 years with that. And sometimes I'm very critical of myself to where I think, you should be this. That's who you were. You need to go back to that. That's when you were your healthiest, your best, your whatever. And that's not necessarily true. I was more physically fit, or I could do an endurance run better, but spiritually, was I in a better place? So make sure that when you're evaluating what those old things mean to you, is it really that back then was your happiest time, or are you elevated now? Because I know that for me, I'm more elevated now, even though I'm 25 pounds heavier.
Well, and also I think in my experience anyway, I tend to negative self-talk. So I tell myself I liked myself better when I was a size 10 than I like myself now at a size 16 or 14, whatever I am. So be aware of that and how you think about your personal, like that negative self-talk is something we should try to learn to let go of, I think. And maybe letting go of the clothes and the things that remind you of that is the first step.
All right, well, you know what? This is an awesome segue right into our third point, which is how we treat our bodies. And I know that most of the time people think about, oh, is it exercise and food and how you outwardly treat your body? But this is not what I'm talking about. How do you inwardly treat your body? What is your self-talk to yourself? Because I know witches who are really trying outwardly to be spiritual, and yet when you get into a deep conversation with them, they are still living with their old traumas, and they're still saying the same things. I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not loved. And they don't say it outright, but it's little things that they tell themselves. It's that self-talk, that negative self-talk that repeats in their head that feeds their body the negative emotions to hang on to traumas. It's not to get over it. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm asking you to do, what we think witches should be doing as part of their practice, is being mindful of what they say to themselves and how loving they are. I know that I have another video up, and my sister kind of like, she laughed at me when I said this because she'd never heard it before, but when I'm in the shower, I talk to my body parts. And I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. When I am washing my legs, I thank them for being strong and carrying me through the world and helping me travel and helping me run or, walk the beach or swim, whatever it is I do. I thank them. So I'm trying to return love, loving thoughts, loving words back to my body to be grateful for where it's at right now. I also say things in words of manifestation to get it to grow different. So I tell them, strong, beautiful, cellulite-free legs, or whatever it is, to bring that in so that I can continue to think that about myself, so that I don't look in the mirror and go, you got too many rolls and you're a little fluffy over here and maybe you shouldn't, have that second cookie. But with negative self-talk, as we get into that, remember that what we think about, we bring about. That's the number one thing with negative self-talk. So if we talk to ourselves negatively, that is what you are manifesting. So our third and final practice of the three things that we think witches should be doing in their practice is watching what you say to your body. What do you feed it with words and thoughts?
And here's another way to look at that. So I probably dislike my arms. Of all my body parts, I probably don't like my arms the most because a myriad of reasons. But find something that if it's your arms or your ankles or your butt or whatever, or your boobs or something that you dislike, find something about them that you can appreciate and repeat those things to yourself. Yes. So what have my arms done? Are they perfect? Do they look like Michelle Obama's arms? No. But you know what they do? They give a lot of hugs. They carry things. They help me along. They do all of these things. So it's very easy to be critical, and society does not help because we have all these unrealistic images of women of what we're supposed to look like, and that feeds into this. So if you have something in your body that you don't like, find something about that body part that you can say is good and that helps you, because there is something, whatever it is, you just have to find it and say that instead of the other thing.
Yeah, I think that goes back to having gratitude for that body part. I mean,
you could not have arms, or I could not have arms. I mean,
then how would I feel? Right. And then you'd be like, I'll take whatever arm I can get. I'd like an arm back.
I think of the surfer that, that lost that she lost her arms when she was Soul Surfer. She lost her arms. Well, imagine,
one arm.
One arm.
I think it was one arm.
Yeah, so if I lost an arm, then how grateful would I be to just have that arm back?
Yes.
So it is about gratitude and trying to appreciate and not be so critical, and sort of just changing the way that we think about and self-talk.
The
So.
self-talk, yeah. Address what goes on in your head. Because that's all, these three things all link together. If you didn't catch it, we talked about our mind bringing us back, our body, so mind, body, and soul, before I forget to say them all three together. But the mind and bringing ourselves back by grounding, the body by how do you speak to it and being grateful for it, and then the soul and where you keep it. So the household in which you live in affects the soul and how you feel about yourself. So by adding these actions into your practice, this is helping you to live your most authentic and beautiful life.
You'll feel less stressed and more connected.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Look, bye.